On episode 736 of the 40 Plus Fitness Podcast, we bring back David Frost and discuss his book, Strong to Save, Your Gen X Imperative to Die Harder and Later. Welcome to the 40 Plus Fitness Podcast, the largest and longest running health and fitness podcast dedicated to people over 40. Whether you're looking to lose weight, get stronger, or improve your health and age better, this podcast is for you. I'm your host, Coach Allan, an online health and fitness coach and author of The Wellness Roadmap. Each week, we dive into practical tips, expert advice, and inspiring stories to help you take control of your health and fitness. If you're ready to look, feel, and perform your best, no matter your age, this podcast is the perfect place to start. Let's get you on the path to a healthier, fitter, and more energetic version of yourself. I hope you'll join us each week, and together we can unlock your full potential. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the 40 Plus Fitness Podcast. I'm glad you're here. We've brought David back, and this is going to be a really good conversation. His book, Strong to Save, what we need as Gen Xers to die harder and live later. I know you're going to enjoy the episode, so enjoy. Our guest today is an NFPT certified master fitness trainer, a rowing coach, champion competitor, and award-winning adjunct professor. After decorated careers in the U.S. Navy and business world, he founded Well Past 40 LLC to promote wellness and longevity. He specializes in nutrition, endurance, and strength training, adapting sessions for people dealing with cancer, MS, PD, CP, diabetes, and metabolic syndrome. He is a volunteer coach for veterans in Wounded Warriors and Freedom Rows projects. He is a national and world champion masters rower, which directly aligns with his fitness training. With his professional NFPT certifications, he provides certified group, one-on-one online training sessions for athletes of all ages to add life to their years and years to their lives. With no further ado, here's David Frost. Dave, welcome to 40 Plus Fitness.
Allan, thank you. Glad to be here in holiday season. I got my holiday mufti on, and it's a great time for fitness, isn't it?
Yes,
make those resolutions stick before New Year's Day.
Well, as we're listening to this today, many people have already let those resolutions end. And so, we want to make sure that if you did fall off, you get back on the horse, because that horse will leave you as we get to aging. So, but the name of the book is called Strong to Save, your Gen X Imperative to Die Harder Later. I like the concept. You were in the military, so you come in a lot of this with some of those Navy sayings that I have to listen to twice to kind of catch. But you're coming at it from a very, I'm not going to say aggressive, but you believe as we age, we need to be serious about how we approach this and not just think this is a kind of a sideline thing as a part of our life, but it has to be a major part of winning the battle.
Doing the work, Allan. You're absolutely right. In my humble opinion, if we put it off, or if we go half-natured or half-blanked, it's not going to be successful. And what I think people forget, Allan, is the impressive return on the investment of sweat and moving heavy stuff. If you think of, let's just say, a 300% return, meaning if you did serious resistance work, either decent, good, or great level of resistance work for some period of time, you're probably going to get years of extra vital health span than if you did nothing, if you ate gummy bears and sat on that, you're a couch potato. So I truly believe that folks do not understand the impressive future returns because it's in the future. But hey, who doesn't like a 300% return that you can control? So being aggressive, politely aggressive, tough love, perhaps, Allan, but it is so critical that people understand the why to get to the how and the what and that sort of thing. Are you interested? Why? Why are you interested in 7 to 12 vital years, 2,600 extra sunrises and sunsets to get out in nature and hug the grandkids or whatever? I think it's, if folks took a deep breath and took a look at the long view and the why, maybe the tough love doesn't seem so tough.
Yeah, I was doing a little bit of research on this the other day for something else I was working on. And I ran across a stat, and the stat was, our lifespan is typically 9.6 years longer than our health span.
15% is, of course, lies, damn lies, and statistics, right? But the point is, Americans are living longer, yet they are not living better. Overweight and obesity is higher, onset of type 2 diabetes, some cancers that we know are preventable are happening anyway. This is totally unsatisfactory. So a little tough love, I think, could go a long way.
Yeah, and you might still be waiting for that magic pill to come out to get you there without the work when this happens to you, because generation after generation has felt this, and we age and we lose our opportunities. One of the things I liked at the beginning of the book is you talked about a concept, and you just brought it up a minute ago, of decent, good, and great. Can you dive into that a bit?
You bet, Allan. I'm a pretty simple guy. You mentioned the military, and often if it can divide the world into threes, it makes it a little easier to get your arms around it and understand a path that might work for someone. So decent is if somebody, a male or female listener, and I stress that book has a male and a female on the cover sweating and moving for a reason. In the matter of strength training, women are just about equal to men for ability to lift versus body weight. So it is both for men and women. But decent, if you are grossly out of shape, I don't mean grossly, but I do mean grossly. If you're out of shape and you can't see your rectus abdominis, your 8-pack, it's really an 8-pack, not a 6-pack. Or if your waist to hip ratio is not where it should be, you need to get decent if you want to live better. And I asked the rhetorical question for decent people. Well, actually, for decent, good, and great, who wants to die earlier and easier? That's the rhetorical comeback to the subtitle of your Gen X imperative to die harder and later. You want to be late to your own funeral. We're all going to die from something. Yet, wouldn't it be nice to die of natural cause as opposed to something that's preventable, like sloth or gluttony? I call those the two original sins that we can control. And the first step is to get decent. And by decent, I mean you're better than your peers. If you're a 52-year-old woman, I would like you to do things like grip strength, dead hang, farmer's carries, very functional things that set you at or slightly above half on the bell curve, half of people your age in this great country of ours. So that's decent. And we're not talking about extraordinary amounts of time, but we are talking about moving stuff. It could be body weight, but oftentimes it's better to use resisted motion. And so that's kind of the substrate. Let's talk about getting at or above where America finds itself. And oh, by the way, that's more than 150 minutes of what we call zone 2 activity, or 75 minutes 150 minutes per week of walking or light jogging or something like that. Nothing in our guidelines from our national fathers talks about resistance training. Yet we know, and we're getting smarter all the time, how important resistance training is for heart health. And once the doctor says yes, your physical aptitude readiness is you're good to go to move stuff, because we know when you move stuff, your blood pressure goes up instantaneously. But of course, we want it to recover, and that arterial health is key to strength as well as it is to stamina. So decent is the foundation, and I call strength, functional strength, the cornerstone of your physical bank. During COVID, a little bit of lemonade from that terrible lemon, very sour lemon, was that the government decided each American was worth saving up to $10 million. In other words, we'll invest up to $10 million to save you, Dave Frost. So I say, okay, if you twist that a little bit, let's say that Dave Frost is a $10 million portfolio. Might be more if you're blessed to be wealthy. And oh, by the way, fitness and strength is not equal. It unfortunately is not equal because of other factors like diet and zip code and lifestyle and genetics. So we're not talking about a very democratic system here. And my argument is okay, it's a republic, but let's do better for the common good. So decent is the cornerstone of getting at or above your peers for things that we can measure. Physical things like your waist to hip ratio, forget BMI, body mass indicator, ridiculous. But waist to hip and waist to height are tremendously important to understand, to offset things that we can prevent that are related, guess what, to resistance training as well as stamina. To get to good, I say that, well, if you'd like to get in the top, say 25% of your gender and age, and you could pick half decade or decade, I say pick 5 years because we know that things change in an irregular pattern as we age. And I know a little more than you because I've got a few more laps around the sun, Allan. But, we've seen that at the cellular level, we have defining moments at about age 44 and 60 for men. Well, I say about because for me, it was age 70, because I had been doing the work and so on, yet things happen. We age, we lose muscle, that terrible thing called sarcopenia and so on. Back to good. So if you want to be in the top 25% of your gender and age for doing functional things, and by functional, I mean things that support your activities of daily life. Can you carry a heavy bag of groceries to the far spot in the parking lot? Can you climb stairs instead of taking the escalator? Can you lift a grandkid when the time comes? Can you put that heavy suitcase? We all overpack our suitcases now because of the luggage rules on airlines. Can you lift your own suitcase? Can you undo the peanut butter jar because you need a healthy snack? Those kinds of things. So recap, decent means get up to the 50%, the second quartile, if you will. Good gets close to the top quartile, and then great. And believe it or not, the best readers of my books are folks that are really darn good or great and want to even do better. That little bit extra, the difference between ordinary and extraordinary is that little bit extra. So great, I say pick a number, top 5, top 10%. It really doesn't matter, but it's lofty. The air is clean up there at the top, and it really feels good if, by human nature, we are motivated to accept demands and to excel. So that triad or progression from decent, good to great to me is something that separates the universe into doable steps. I'm not asking you to be Arnold Schwarzenegger or, hey, Dave Frost, why don't you go be an Olympic champion at age 73? There's a rational check there, right? I love to do masters games, and it's wonderful that we do have masters weightlifting and things like that. We accept aging, but we don't have to accept getting old. And again, the people that are great because they've done the work and maybe are blessed with a little genetics and have a healthy lifestyle probably are going to be late to their own funerals. And I think that's nice. If it's the 9.6 years you mentioned, but darn it, the richest country in the history of mankind is sicker than it ever was with things that are preventable. And strength training is a big part of that solution to avoid sloth and gluttony. Just do it.
The way I like to think about it is decent actually puts you on the right aging curve versus aging faster. And then good is where now you're aging a little slower. You're adding years of quality to your life because you're aging slower. But great is where you've optimized your life to a point where you're living your best life, your whole life, and you're much more likely to die of a car accident than a heart attack. Because you've done the right things. And so I think of it in those terms of like it's preventative medicine that will keep you healthier and fitter longer because you did the hard thing. And it is hard. It is to go from decent to good is hard. To go from good to great is harder. But if you're willing to put in that effort and do that work, the payoff, as you said, on the investment is it's unbelievable.
It truly is. And then the impact on your loved ones. As Queen Elizabeth said, you want to work hard, have a good life, and die suddenly. Well, unfortunately, we don't. Our system is set up to keep you alive when probably you shouldn't be, because we're on the terrible slippery slope of palliative care, which is where it's most expensive for Medicare and our public sick care system to take care of us. And if we did a better job, we'd leave less of a burden to our kids and grandkids. So on the personal level, decent, good, and great. And as you shared, that complimentary view of living your best life is right there. And yet you would say, well, that's selfish. I say, no, it's selfless, because what we do impacts others. And then hopefully America is a healthier country, perhaps like Scandinavia or other countries we know. Different scenario, maybe apples and oranges. Yeah, we can do a heck of a lot better.
We're going to have to change our cities a little bit to make that happen. But
that's true.
Now,
zip codes matter. You're right. Zip codes do matter.
Yeah. So now, one of the things you got into, most of the time I'm on this podcast, I'm talking to someone. They're going to build themselves out as an anti-aging person, or if they're already older, they're going to be a super ager. And so those terms have now sort of permeated the whole discussion about longevity and health span. You don't like those phrases. You have your own.
I dislike them very much. I think it's disingenuous for Madison Avenue and talking heads, God bless them, many of them with more initials after a name than I have. And yet my degree is in the School of Hard Knocks. And I was brought up in Vermont and New Jersey and in the Navy. And I was told that aging starts the day you're born. You can't avoid it. So terms like super or anti or easy fix, those kinds of things are disingenuous, Allan, I believe, for doing the work that you just mentioned. And I nodded my head, is that aging is inevitable. But sounds negative, but in this case, it's good to use but, I suppose. Aging is inevitable. We want that. As George Burns said, you have to get older. You don't have to act old, or words to that effect. And to live your best life, it's doing the work, and then you can reap. Just like I call it physical banking, of which strength is the foundation, as mentioned. If you have a $10 million investment, I think most of us are smart enough to invest it prudently, not wait for that magic pill, not wait for palliative care, or, well, maybe a GLP-1 that was designed for diabetes can make me healthy. No. So, it is what, and you shared it, to live your best life. And when I share good or great, you're performing as if you're 5 to 10 years or more younger in fitness years, not calendar years. So for me, down aging means your fitness years are far lower than your calendar years. For instance, I happen to have invested, I was suggested that I try an Oura ring. This is back when the NBA used it during COVID to monitor body vitals. But it's gotten smarter. The people in Scandinavia that invented this X factor, this device, can tell you some amazing things that help you shape your life. One of them is it can estimate, not with precision or accuracy, but it can trend your cardiovascular health based on a fancy thing called pulse wave velocity. So isn't it interesting that, if you go in and have a tonometric thing done, they actually measure the time between your carotid and an arm and your ankle, whatever. But so let me just give a number. Today, not precise or accurate, this said my cardiovascular health is 6 years younger than my calendar age. My cardiovascular age is 6 years younger than my calendar age. So right there, I'm 67, as an estimate. I'll take those 7 years. And how did that come? Maybe a little genetic, but I have heart disease. And heart disease starts for most of us at age 20. It doesn't mean you're going to die from it, but it means that your body is inflamed and it responds with arterial goo. And I got a call from a cardiologist that said, don't be alarmed, but you have the coronary arteries of a 92-year-old. And I said, whoa, wait a minute. I'm 67. He said, well, let's talk about this because it's complicated. Yeah. And I think it's disingenuous. It's super aging. And the folks that talk about super aging are talking in most cases about, guess what? Lifestyle drugs in most cases. They'll give a little to lifestyle, yay. But then they talk about what they do. They're mouse doctors, MDs. They're clinical MDs that talk about what they do, finding pills and prescriptions to do what most of the time we can do naturally. Long soapbox, I'm sorry, but
I'm
pretty
cool.
passionate about that.
That's why I brought it up.
So superlatives
to find the things in the book that the author really, really gets passionate about. And
there are a few of us that are uber rock stars and can be super, but it's a misnomer. We're all aging. So it should be super youthing or something like that. It's disingenuous.
That's cool. I like the phrase down aging. So don't get me wrong.
And right, Allan, if I could just reinforce what is so critical, it's your fitness age, not your calendar age that matters.
Now, in the book, when you got into kind of the beef of the what, you got into 5 ways that we should be moving heavy stuff. Can you talk a little bit about those?
Love to. So you might see another model where it might say 7 types of moving stuff, body weight or moving stuff. And hey, there is merit to isometric exercises too. That is where the joint doesn't move. But we talk about isotonic, where we're moving joints. That's what skeletal muscles really are designed to do. So I think a 5 is a good thing to remember. For someone my age, twice a week, so I can recover, I would like to lift, push, pull, twist, and carry. Very functional carries are important. So, hey, Dave, what's a lift? Well, you could say a deadlift. Or, well, is a squat a lift or a push? And the answer is, it really doesn't matter. But you try to think about, it's very important to do a pull. Right? Whether it's a bent row or a TRX pull or a bench row, it's very important. So those 5 things I think are really important, and that makes a complete workout. A lot of life is this way, isn't it? Front to back. Yeah. But by doing these other things like twisting, it could be, just a kettlebell or a dumbbell twisting down your straddled legs to work the supporting muscles along your torso, which are important for punching and doing all kinds of things. So those 5 types of motion, if people think a little bit about, I say, well, it's leg day. Okay, so I say it's leg day, but let's think about getting most of those 5 in a single workout and make sure you get all 5 every week. Yeah.
Now, you also, in the book, you got into the differences when we're training endurance, strength, and power.
Right.
Can you talk about, because I think, we think about strength and endurance quite a bit. Power's not something that's typically top of mind for someone over the age of 40, but you have it in here. I'd like to dive into all 3.
You bet. So we had endured what we normally call strength, and I would call that offsetting sarcopenia, that dreaded word. It's loss of flesh, literally loss of flesh. As we age, if we don't challenge our muscles and have them micro tear, and when we restore, rebuild with protein, hydration, and rest, we offset sarcopenia. Maybe our fiber actually gets a little longer and a little thicker, even at my age. There are tests that show men in their 80s have gained functional strength by committing to getting a little bit sore. So that's strength. But let me back up to endured. Man was born to walk, not to sprint. Man was born to walk and jog, to outlast the gazelle he was hunting for dinner, right? So that's when you run, you're doing strength training, but it's not to build mass, it's to endure. And it's different energy systems and that sort of stuff. Is it important? Absolutely, because endurance is the absolute, where I said strength is the cornerstone of your physical bank. The foundation is stamina. So if you think about stamina, what activities can I do that support the kind of endured the endured strength that you mentioned in this breakout of 3. So you go for a walk. Great. How about putting on a fancy term is rucking. And now I see, and it's wonderful, ladies are buying designer weight vests. So to go ahead and do your endurance, but add an element of resistance training to it. You could have wrist weights. You could have a weight vest or whatever. We do not want to do just strength training alone because of cardiovascular health. However, cardiovascular health also needs the strength and a little bit of higher intensity to challenge the arteries and challenge our plumbing system. So endured, we need it. And if you find an activity, I just happen to be a rower. And I know that you enjoy, well, maybe not enjoy, but you spend time on the indoor rower, I believe still.
I did. It tore up since we've talked. I put it in my gym, and it didn't last long with the users there. It was not the highest quality either. No, I do most of my, it relates to kayaking. And so it's great to be strong. I can do it, I'm strong in the row. That's great. But, you get in the kayak, and being strong doesn't get you very far. It's a few good strokes and then you're petered out. So you need that endurance to keep doing it.
Absolutely.
So that you can actually get where you want to go to fish.
Yeah. As a rule of thumb, let's just say you were equating resistance training to weight training. As a rule of thumb, 15 repetitions with a reasonably heavy weight is considered endurance or toning. And that's good. And if that's all you did, you'd probably tone, but you'd still lose muscle mass due to this aging thing called sarcopenia. So why is strength important? It's to cause those micro tears in our fiber. For me, twice a week. For people Gen X, maybe 3 times a week. But we want people to get sore because our bodies are built to respond to that inflammation. Not too much inflammation, just enough inflammation to restore, rebuild, get the fibers a little thicker, a little longer, and hopefully offset sarcopenia, as well as doing more pull-ups or push-ups or planks or whatever. And the last one you mentioned is power. So that's doing work in a quick period of time. You think of a fancy word called plyometric, box jumping, or some of the CrossFit activities. Wonderful. However, as we get older, we remember our joints. Last year, exactly 1 year ago, it was my first bout with a torn meniscus. And that shock absorber between my lower and upper legs had, how many squats have I done in my life? I don't know, a couple million. But one deep squat too many. When I was stretching a client in a deep squat, the cartilage, the medial cartilage said, uh-oh. Now, God bless luck, I guess. It wasn't ligaments. It was cartilage. Yet a little flap smaller than the tip of my finger was enough to put me out of action. So we have to be conscious of really extreme or full range of motion when we're not properly warmed up or doing extreme things. I have no reason in my life to do a lot of box jumping. And by the way, my vertical leap is about this tall anyway. So
yeah, he's basically holding his fingers about an inch, and mine's not much higher.
Yeah. But so in the way of repetitions, let's just assume your resistance, it doesn't have to be, but let's just assume it's weights, not bands or pushing tires or lifting, being a lumberjack and lifting hunks of timber. But we say power is 6 repetitions or less, 3 to 6 repetitions, a high load after you've safely warmed up, and a long recovery time before you do it again. That gets closer to the maximum amount you can do safely. In the middle is that hypertrophy and strength level where we're fighting the loss of skeletal muscle that keeps us moving. We're mammals. We want to move, and we hate it when we see our elders shrink, bend over. They get up from a chair by leaning over because they don't have the core stability and strength to do it. So these are evil things that mostly are preventable. Not all cases, but most cases. So endured, a blend of endurance things. Every time I take a stroke on the rower, it's the equivalent of a 60-pound weight lift. Not real heavy, but if you do it for an hour, that's a whole lot of work. And ultimately, you will have micro tears, but not to the same extent as the middle one that you mentioned, the strength phase, where we're looking for hypertrophy, or at least, if not getting bigger, at least not getting smaller. We want our fiber to not lose length or circumference. And then the power, when you're trained, it's the ability, it's more explosive if you think about it, as I say, a box jump or an Olympic clean and jerk. Not for the decent, maybe for the good, and probably for the great, extraordinary. The horsepower that a human can generate is impressive. Not as impressive as an ant or some other members of the animal kingdom, but it's impressive when somebody can put 200 kilos over their head in a split second. That's a lot of horsepower. And, I talk a lot about horsepower or watts in the book because it's important to celebrate what our bodies can do if they're conditioned and challenged.
Yeah, that's the key, conditioned and challenged. In a way, I like to think about power from a functional perspective of if you've ever had a 3-year-old around, in an instant, they can just be on the sidewalk with you, walking along beside you, and they dart for the road. And your ability then to leap, grab the child, and pull it back is an extra exercise in power. But
Absolutely.
You wouldn't be able to do that leap. You wouldn't be able to have that acceleration if all you did was train endurance or strength. You need to train specifically for power so you have those ability. It's also going to allow you to react quicker. So if you were to trip or stumble, power is going to give you the speed in movement with weight, your body weight in this case, to be able to adapt and potentially avoid getting hurt worse than it would be otherwise. Hypertrophy on the other side, and strength, where you're strengthening your bones, you're adding muscle to pad a little bit when you do fall. So in all cases, this training is valuable because it's usable, it's functional, it's what our body needs if we're going to live our best life.
Absolutely. And if I could share just an example, we think of rowing, which can last from, for masters like me, it could go from 4 minutes to about 20 minutes. Although I'm going to do a continuous 24-hour row with some other people just because I'm crazy and we want to set a record. But my point is, I can also do a peak or power training on the ergometer and go for maximum wattage. And I can still brag that for a brief period of time, I'm 1 horsepower or 746 watts of generated power because I'm doing the work over a short period of time. Like you said, grabbing the kid in a short period of time to save the kid's life. So power is important. And I absolutely positively say, yes, 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 please, when you're ready to blend in all 3 of those elements. Absolutely. And except for the endured, they don't take a lot of time. And in fact, the power is a very short period of time, except for the warm up to make sure you don't hurt yourself.
Yeah. Now, one of the core things, it's great to train, but you mentioned that we also need to get our nutrition, get our hydration, and we need to rest and recover. A big part of that rest is sleep. And a lot of older folks really struggle with sleep. And in particular, if you've put on some extra weight, particularly in the throat area, sleep apnea. Can you talk a bit about that?
Oh, golly, thank you. And as a public service announcement, thank you, because if 2 more people hear it and say, maybe I'll go get a sleep study, I say, hallelujah. Thank you, Allan. About 30% of women after menopause have some degree of sleep disorder, which may or may not be called apnea. But 1/3 of all ladies after menopause, whatever that age for each individual lady, that impacts their sleep quality. For guys, I was diagnosed. My wife timed me one time for stopping breathing. My sleep partner stopped me for
stopwatch. I'm just
in my it's not snoring. Snoring and apnea may be related, but they're not the same. So it's deadly. When you stop breathing for a period, like almost a minute and a half, she said, go get a sleep study. Number 1, I can't sleep. And number 2, I think this is unhealthy. And indeed it was. So an X factor for me is I wear it's gotten much better over the last 15 years. I wear a little pillow that keeps my mouth shut. And oh, by the way, I don't grind my teeth as much, so I don't crack teeth, which is expensive. You all know, going to the dentist. But many, many people are in denial that they don't have a sleep disorder. Oh, I'm just tired and I snore a little. Well, it might be, but a high percentage of men there should be interventions. Now, there are dental appliances, a fancy mouthpiece. I've even seen a little implant to help people with their, I'm not quite sure the mechanism, because I still think the most effective is to tolerate a little white noise and have constant pressure air to keep your mouth shut so that you breathe nasally, which is so important, as we know. Breathing through your mouth is not healthy. There have been studies done. If you try to walk around without breathing through your nose, you go crazy. So a CPAP is my recommended brute force and most effective way to deal with something that's slowly killing many people that's preventable. Yeah. If I was king, I'd have every man and woman over the age of 40 do a sleep study. I would.
Well, yeah, that in a calcium score, but
absolutely good.
So, the core of it is this: you can spend all this effort training, but if you're not sleeping well, you're not giving your body what it needs to actually get better. And so you're probably not going to see the progress. You're not going to move from decent to great, good, and you're not going to move to great for sure. You've got to be getting your good sleep. And if you do have a sleep problem or sleep apnea, you need to go get the study. You need to get what you need to get to make you breathe the way you need to breathe so you're getting a good night's sleep. I want to jump into gadgets because you mentioned that you have an Oura ring. I have one too. And I just started using it this year. It tells you a lot about your sleep as well, So, okay, I slept this many hours and this is the time I was moving. This is the time I was actually sleeping. It gives you a score, which, I'm a little bit competitive. So, and I don't know how to competitively sleep, but
ask a teenager, right?
Yeah, there's good and bad to everything, I think. But tell me about what your thoughts are on fitness gadgets and any that you would say, okay, I definitely recommend.
Yeah, please, due diligence, number one. Number two, there are costs associated with. Now, we did mention one trade name, but if you mention a watch, which is another one, this is not an Apple Watch. This is not check for AFib and some other things. So what characteristics, traits, and trends are you interested in? For me, it's resting heart rate, it's heart rate variability, it's body temperature. This predicted COVID before I did the test and found out I had COVID. This detected shingles before I had a traditional case of shingles. Our bodies tell things if we listen to them. And, we're running around and we don't think about what's my respiration or, golly, I wonder what my heart age is as measured by pulse wave velocity. Isn't it nice? It is a couple $100, yet you wear it. A lot of folks take off their watches at night to charge, and that's the most valuable time. We can all estimate our exertion during a workout, but we need to know what's going on, hopefully for 7 hours for the average American, for deep REM sleep, which is when our bodies are paralyzed. We do most of the healing and restoring when our bodies are paralyzed during rapid eye movement and dreaming. It's fascinating. And by the way, we cannot forget the happy hormones like serotonin in the gut are best produced when we're sleeping. And of course, sexercise is better after you're rested, right? If you're tired all the time, sexercise is not going to be a big part of your living your best life. So.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I like the ring that I have now because it does give me some good data, and I can kind of start seeing some trends. It's like, well, if I do this or do that, then I sleep better. I have some blue blocker glasses now that if I am gonna be looking at a screen after 6 o'clock, which is about just before sunset here, I'll put those blue blockers
Lucky
on.
You. 4:42 for me today. But go ahead.
Yeah, and so what I've found is the nights that I do that, and I have some magnesium supplement before I go to bed, my REM sleep is deeper and longer, and so I know I'm getting better quality sleep just on the premise of getting out of a 8-hour sleep night. I'm usually in bed about 10 hours, but I sleep about 8. Because I've got the man disease of tight little or big little prostate thing going on. So I do pee a few times each night, and it is what it is. But I go back to sleep almost always like right away. But it marks the time that I'm awake. The time it gives me latency and says, okay, it took you 3 minutes to fall asleep last night, 13 minutes to fall asleep.
It's tremendous for the trending. I believe some people might poo-poo it, but I've been wearing 2 generations of a device. Now, it doesn't have to be Oura. It's just something that you do your due diligence on and say, it's worth the investment for what I need to know about me. Yeah,
And you have to know
absolutely.
yourself. Yeah, like I said, I have a competitive tendency. And so when I sit there and they say, okay, well, this is how many calories you need to burn today. I know that's just an estimate, but it estimates based on what I'm doing during the day, the amount of movement I have, what I've done. And what I'll usually do then is I have the little charger sitting there. So if I'm going to watch a movie or something, I know I'm going to be sitting for, a period of time up to 2 hours. That's when I'll charge it. And then that way I make sure, because to me, you're right. That's when I actually want it on the most, when I'm sleeping and when I'm doing my endurance training.
Yeah,
You want
in
to
the
tell me?
prior book, I called this restorative sleep, Alan. And I am nodding my head in total agreement. Restorative sleep is the ultimate if you want to improve your functional strength or endured strength or your power. And in fact, it's so important that I called it mimicking Morpheus. When we sleep, it's kind of like generating morphine-like substances, the happy hormones, to make life better, to live your fullest. So, amen. Yeah.
David, I define wellness as being the healthiest, fittest, and happiest you can be. What are three strategies or tactics to get and stay well?
Well, start now, no denial. And the last chapter of Strong to Save, isn't it interesting that Phillip Rivers came back after a 5-year layoff to quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts on Sunday? Nunc coepi was a hat that he wore. We all make mistakes, but nunc coepi, if I remember the Latin, and I probably said it incorrectly because I never took Latin, it's begin anew. If you fall off or if you miss something, don't spend too much looking back, look ahead. So one is begin anew, nunc coepi. Number two, please understand your why. Are you interested in 7 to 12 idle years to offset those 9.6 years for the average American that you mentioned, Allan, where we're unhealthy, palliative care, on too many drugs, polypharmacy, inexcusable in most cases? And number three, this is a three-part, if I might, Allan, but thanks to your listeners for bearing with me. I was told, and it's in the book, Michael Brake, Olympic champion in a sport I love, rowing. And he also rows the port side, which I like because most of the time I row port. Michael Brake said, to achieve in life, not Olympic rowing or Olympic sport, to achieve in life, remember these three things. And he gave me permission to share them. Number one, always train like you're number two. Second place. There's always, if you're competitive like you are, like I tend to be as a master's rower, always train like somebody's better than you, either in technique or the types of strength that you mentioned. The second part of that is surround yourself with good people. Oh, I don't feel like working out today. Find a buddy. It's amazing what the buddy system can do to pull you up, either in the military or in civilian life. Get a buddy so you get through the days when your mojo is lacking, and hopefully you get on and you feel really good when you're done. And number three, be a student of your endeavor. Why I wrote, and you shared that, the book might get a little technical sometimes. It's hard to mention muscles without getting technical. Who knows what
Yeah.
a tensor fascia latae is if you don't, we abbreviate things because I hate Latin, right? Or quadratus lumborum for the back pain that many people have. So those are the three things for number three. Number one was nunc coepi, start now or begin anew if you didn't quite hit the mark or your resolve wavered a little. Number two, ask why not. Why should I invest in 7 to 12 idle years of down aging to get my fitness age as low as I can manage? And number three, be a student of my endeavor. Do a little study because there's so much noise out there, isn't there? So much noise, and a lot of it doesn't fit us. And oh, by the way, a lot of us can't afford going to Peter Attia's Longevity Institute in Texas and having a $50,000 weekend. And I asked, do we really need that? It's self-control. So those three things, nunc coepi, ask why, and the three-part number three, be a student of your endeavor, surround yourself with resources, get a buddy, get a trainer if you need one. If you don't, that's fine too. And then train like you're in second place.
David, if someone wanted to learn more about you, learn more about your book, Strong to Save, where would you like for me to send them?
Golly, the author's landing page, Allan, is well past 40, and I'll spell it if folks don't mind. WELLPASTFORTY. It's not the numbers, it's the letters. .org, not com. My blogs, I try to write quite regularly on things that interest, hopefully, both women and men. strongtosave.com. blog. So focusing on not just strength, as you mentioned, it's a comprehensive kind of holistic look at all the things that help us live a better life and try to fight the aging process. So strong2save.blog, Instagram, I'm David Emerson Frost. I'm David Emerson Frost because there was a David Frost that interviewed Richard Nixon, was knighted by Queen Elizabeth. And oh, by the way, he's dead and I'm not. So that's why I use my middle name. So Instagram is David Emerson Frost and Facebook is Well Past 40 also. And if folks have any questions, and if any of your listeners are folks that wore the uniform of our country, I'd be happy to send them a copy to thank them for their service and see if maybe they can pick up a fact, a tip, a hack to try to help them live the fuller and better life, like you mentioned, Allan.
That's awesome, David. David, thank you so much for being a part of 40 Plus Fitness.
Thank you. I'm definitely 40 plus, but I want people to know halftime is exciting, isn't it? Whether it's Super Bowl halftime or not. And the second half performance, make your next years your best years. That's what we're talking about.
That's typically when the game is won.
Amen.
All right. If you enjoyed today's show, take a moment to subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And if you would, please leave us a rating and review on the podcast player you're listening to right now. Next time on the 40 Plus Fitness podcast, we meet Eileen Kopsitis and discuss her book, Aging Culprits, 12 Myths That Sabotage Your Future and Steal Your Joy. Until then, have a happy and healthy week.